Or like the witching hour or something?
They say 3 o'clock's the witching hour. 3 o'clock in what time zone? Riddle me this. Let's say we're on daylight savings time and I step over the border into Arizona and now it's 2 a.m. Is the witch going to get me?
No, the witch is in the other time zone.
Right, exactly. So I have 60 minutes until I have to jump time zones again.
She just floats there as the earth spins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite podcast. It's called Stop the Internet Podcast. I'm Kelee.
I'm Erin, and
Guys,
this is Stop the Internet Podcast.
I'm scared because Erin's going to lead the episode today.
Every now and then, Kelee will be like, Erin's going to lead the episode, and then usually just rips it out from under me.
That's happened once, probably, maybe twice. Okay.
I feel. But how many have I tried to host? Probably those two. So every once in a while this happens. We're going to give it a whirl today. Kelee was like, what's something that's been on your mind recently? Conspiracy theories.
I'm really nervous about this because Jimmy and I just talked a few weeks ago about a story where a boyfriend was like believing in conspiracy theories. And I was saying how I think it's annoying, or it can be annoying, and how I don't believe a lot of them. So...
Okay, these are important ones to me. No, some of them are good. Some of them are crazy. Some of them are just hilarious, but I want serious thoughts on them.
Okay, I have one that I want to talk about.
Do you want to go first? But what if it's on my list?
Well, then we can just start with it, right? Or did you put them in a strategic order?
No, not really. I had some like lighthearted ones to start with, but it depends how heavy yours is.
I mean, I feel like we should start with the best ones, not the lighthearted ones.
All right, give me...
Well, okay, you know what? I don't know. I was going to talk about time travel. Is that on your list?
That is not on my list.
Wow.
But it's simply not possible. Time is a made-up concept.
Okay, this is what I believe too. I still feel like when it comes to time travel, people have mixed reviews, but I just don't get how smart people... believe in time travel.
Yeah, like in all seriousness, are there companies or scientists or researchers genuinely pouring money into time travel right now? Like, is that being studied? And if it is, why are we wasting our money?
I think it's more about them studying like atoms and how like atoms interact to be able to see if like things happen. Like, you know how like every action has an equal or something.
Equal but opposite reaction.
Sure, that. I'm not a science person, by the way, so everything I could be saying is wrong. I think they are studying those atoms to see if things happen linearly. And I think they know that the answer is it doesn't happen in a straight line. Yeah. So really smart people think that time is just like a circle, I guess, or maybe not like a perfect circle because they think that it doesn't happen in chronological order, but I just don't get that at all because, yeah, time is made up. So, like, how could we ever be like, oh, let's just, like, punch in this year and, like, go back to it? Like, that just seems like... It just seems so simple that is not ever going to happen.
Simply not. Real quick, has this been keeping you up at night since we watched Hot Tub Time Machine the other day?
No, but I have been thinking about time travel for years because well, maybe not hope. I would love to be proved wrong one day. Like, if I am proven wrong, that's great.
I agree.
But right now, I'm so anti-time travel because everything I've learned about it or heard about it just seems like so simply impossible to me. Mm-hmm. But I also think there's like levels of brains. And like, you know how some people can be on the level of understanding quantum physics? Mm-hmm. I don't think my brain can handle that. And I think that most people's can't. And I feel like we could probably, I feel like we are smart people, you and I. We could probably handle a lot of information, like when it comes to education. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I could handle quantum physics. Like, I don't think my brain works in that way. So maybe that's why I am so adamant that, to my understanding, there's no possibility of time travel. But maybe it's just because I don't understand quantum physics that's like making me think this. I don't know. I just think that time is made up. So like exactly what you said, like we also don't all have to be on the same calendar. Like certain groups of people believe different calendars. Like we have our new year on January 1st, and then there's like whatever the lunar new year is, and then there's the Chinese new year. I think Jewish religion has a different new year. So like, is that what they mean by time travel? Is like going back to like previous years? Like years aren't even real.
I know.
Like
if we're going by time, shouldn't we have all ended when the Mayan calendar ended?
Right. That's what I mean. Like time is made up. So like how could you ever possibly type in
There's
like
no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. I don't think so.
Also, to my point, in 2009, Stephen Hawking had a birthday party, but he didn't tell anyone about his birthday party until after it ended. And then he made record of the birthday party happening and invited time travelers so that if at any point time travel is invented, they can travel back to his birthday party and attend. Time is not linear, so like in theory, like the future has already happened. I don't know. But in theory, time travel either never exists because nobody came back and went to his party, or they don't want to change history and nobody showed up. But I just think that there's no possibility because that would be so iconic if people could travel back to his birthday party. So I just feel like that alone disproves this entire theory.
I think if anything, if anyone was going to time travel and anyone was going to do it with reason, it was going to be to deal with Stephen Hawking.
To deal with him.
Like go to his birthday party, talk to him, like have business with him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's give it till the end of his life and see.
I think he died. Wait,
point proven.
Did he die? I think he died because
he did die recently, I think.
Okay. There was other theorists saying that it would be more iconic if people went to his funeral.
Oh. Well, maybe they did and we don't know that they were time travelers.
Yeah. Yeah, he died in 2018.
Oh,
Dang.
So it was pretty recent. Okay. Well,
that's sad.
I stand by. I just don't think time travel is possible.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay.
Until I can see like concrete evidence about what time is, which time doesn't exist. Time is literally just like something we made up to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to believe in it.
Until I see little Erin standing over there or grandma Erin sitting over there next to me, I don't believe it.
Yeah. I feel like when I say real, my closing thought on that is when I say real, it's like physically real, like things that you can touch. Yeah. Tangible things. Because like atoms, matter are tangible and time is not tangible. We can change it at any time, at any point. Speaking of tangible things, I did pull a couple of ridiculous conspiracies that I read online that people shared that I just had to share with other people if you haven't heard them. So speaking of matter and tangible things, someone wrote, rocks are soft until they're touched. I hate things like this. Because like, why? That's like if a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? We don't know. So like the thing is though, what is sound? Because well, okay, we're not getting into that right now. Well, that's the whole theory. I know. But I'm just saying, are rocks soft until you touch them? Are you asking me what I think? Yeah. No. You think they're hard? I just don't. Yeah. Okay. Is that it? That's the whole debate? I was just curious what you thought about rocks. What do you think? I think they're hard too. See, I feel like dumb shit like that just makes me mad. But someone had to post that on the internet. Yeah, but like I could say anything. Yeah. I just think that's just a stupid debate. I think, but multiple people believe it. That feels like more of a paradox than a conspiracy theory, because a paradox is like something that you can't really ever prove or disprove, because as soon as you go to prove it, you would be proving the point that you can't prove it. Yes. You know? Yes. So I feel like that's a paradox, and I hate paradoxes because they make my brain itch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What if Pinocchio said, "My nose will grow now"? It would only grow if it doesn't grow, because it would only be a lie if it doesn't grow. But then if it grows, it's true. That's a paradox. It does not work. Isn't that crazy? I don't want to talk about it anymore. My brain feels like too far to the left now. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Next, very serious one. What do you really believe is in Area 51? Do you seriously in your heart believe there's aliens in there? What do you think? You know what? I don't want to sound crazy,
but I do think there's aliens in Area 51. I know practically that if it has to be as locked down and secretive as they say it does as it is for the US government, it's probably because they're actually doing like new military weapons or like top secret experiments, and it's probably way more important than aliens. But there are too many unexplained occurrences that the government has hidden. Like, remember that one that came out a few years ago? I think it was like a Navy plane had like a run-in, or maybe it was a commercial plane, I don't know, had a run-in with some sort of unidentified flying object, and the government hid it, and then it finally got leaked a few years later. It's like, why? If there's nothing to hide, why are we hiding it?
I do believe in aliens, though. Like, the government confirmed aliens in the past few years.
Okay.
So the question you originally asked was, do I believe they're in Area 51? I guess. Like, that would be a good place for them. But now, like, it's not a question. Like, they actually announced on the news in the past 4 years that confirmed what? There is aliens.
Like, where's the proof? Like, you can't just wake up one morning and be like, confirmed aliens.
Well, I think the CIA or something.
Can we make a call?
Can you look this up? I'm going to have our intern Kenny look it up.
Can you make a call to some sort of government official? I need to know.
CIA.gov has information. Oh, flying saucers.
That's a frisbee.
Whoa. This is from 1949.
So that's what I'm saying. Why do we keep it under wraps until now? Okay, so all Area 51 aside, I obviously believe in aliens. Like, I, from a science perspective, am not naive enough to believe that we are the only planet with living beings. Like, if we believe in the theory of evolution, we all came from some sort of bacteria at some point in time and evolved. Who am I to say that there's not some other form of living bacteria, fungus, plants, some sort of living thing on another planet in this entire galaxy, which is where my brain like turns into fog when I start thinking about outer space, because like I can't comprehend it. But there's something out there. Do I know for sure that it's visited us? I don't know. But if it has, why wouldn't we keep it in Area 51? The thought that there are aliens in Area 51 has to come from somewhere, right? Like, all conspiracy, all lies, all stories come from some sort of truth. So maybe someone leaked it at some point.
Well, I don't know if they all come from truth. I think they sometimes come from a guess or a theory.
I feel like there's probably aliens in Area 51.
I think there might be, but the reason to keep it under wraps is public hysteria. That's what I would think. Because imagine... And I've heard that that's why they announced it, like, kind of during the pandemic, because there was so much other stuff going on in the world that they're like, and by the way, there's aliens.
They were like, shit's already hit the fan.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Exactly, because they're like, there's more important things than aliens, and maybe they just know that it's not really a threat.
Yeah.
And so if they said, like, oh, there's aliens, by the way, everyone would be like, bunkered down, like, crazy. Well, maybe not everyone. I don't think I would.
I kind of want one. I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but if I had to pick one thing I do wish I could have been a part of, it was the Storm Area 51 movement. Like, I wish that I could have brought an alien home and kept it on a leash.
What if it's not even an actual body? Like, what if it's just like an amoeba?
A little bacteria, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I don't think that we have aliens that are like, when you Google alien and that like green large head comes up, I don't think it's like that exciting.
Right, that's what I was saying earlier.
Okay, no, I don't really think that, because I think that would have come out by now. Mm-hmm. Or like other people would have found it. Other countries would have found it. Private businesses.
Maybe they have. We just only know about the ones in Area 51. Like, we don't know the ones that they have in like Croatia.
I don't know. I think that the Earth is small compared to the universe. So if a alien can visit one country, it probably visits all of them.
Well, maybe it does, is what I'm saying. Like, you just haven't called anyone in Croatia and been like, hey, you guys got any green guys with antennas?
It would have spread by now, I think. If they had it as like public information.
But maybe they did. Well, maybe everyone's keeping it under wraps, or maybe like it has spread, like they've heard about, maybe they just haven't heard about Area 51. We haven't heard about their version of it. I don't know. I think that also by now, though, there would be private companies that have so much money, like more money than some governments, and they would be doing this research. Like, why would it, if aliens came, that's something that like isn't governed by a country. Like, if aliens came to them, the Earth is just a rock with other beings on it. They don't know what a country is. They don't know like what, or they're that much smarter than us, and they've been watching us this whole time, and they really do know.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But even still, like, I just don't think that they would be like, oh, well, this little planet with these beings, they have invisible borders and they all have semi-different rules.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to visit one of the areas inside of this invisible border, and I'm going to only give information to, like, I guess my question is, like, if aliens came, if something otherworldly came to Earth, why would the government automatically be the ones to receive that information? It just seems like almost anyone could receive that information.
I guess the thought isn't that the government is the only ones that receive the information. The thought is that people have received it and the government has hushed it. The thought is that, like, because people, you know, there's stories. People, oh, I was abducted. The beam of light took me. Like, there's shows. There's people telling their stories.
I guess.
But the thought is that the government hushes them. One other quick thought. How do you feel about the idea that we're all just like some living on like an ant farm somewhere, and like someone else is I'm not saying we're like The Sims, like we're not like a computer game, like we're very much alive,
Horton Hears a Who style?
Yeah.
Okay. If that is the case, or if it isn't, I hate to like be this person, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
So like, do I think
curious
that it is? I've never thought about it. It could,
you
but
think
I
we
just
live
don't.
on a speck on a clover?
Yeah, I would say no, just based off of what, like, because it's like you have the Earth, and then you have our solar system, and then you have the galaxy, and then you have the universe. Like, it's kind of like it goes in layers if you want to think of it that way. So they would have to be like 5 layers away, hiding out there in order for us to have not noticed it yet. So like, I just think it's unlikely.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, I feel like we can't go this rapid fire. Like, now I'm spinning down a rabbit hole. Like, I need to think about aliens for a few more minutes before we move on.
Okay, well, this is like, you could think about aliens while you're still thinking about this one.
Okay.
Do you think we faked the moon landing, or we actually went to the moon?
Wow. My God, these are so hard.
I know, and these are very common ones. I think that I personally, in my little Erin heart, believe that we did go to the moon, but we were prepared to fake it if we needed to. Like, if Russia was like, we're on our way there, we were going to be like, haha, we went yesterday. And like, here's the proof, but it's fake. But I do think we actually went. I think we were just ready to be like, frick you, we already did it.
See, this is hard because I feel like I don't have all the information. So it's like, I've heard other people say that they think that we went to the moon, but not on the day that the moon landing was. Like, I've heard that there's like too many weird things about the evidence that it just would have been more convenient to fake it and put it out there that we won the space race, but then continue working on it. And like, eventually we did get there.
Yeah.
But it probably wasn't that day. The one thing about the moon landing that's weird, they live streamed from the moon. You can't even call someone on a plane.
I don't think they live streamed.
They literally live streamed from the moon. Kenny, also look this up.
Did they actually live stream back then?
First live lunar television broadcast. Apollo 11 was the first manned mission to land on the moon, July 20th, 1969. NASA used technology developed in 1928 to develop a small, robust television camera that enabled a live broadcast from this mission.
I have to run for president so that I can get my hands on that book of secrets, because this is going to keep me up at night.
It's just like weird. I don't know. And then they came out and they were like, we have all this technology to do all these things and go to the moon and live stream from the moon, but we lost it. And everyone's like, where is it? Where? And they're like, we lost the technology. What? All the things that exist on this earth, and you just happen to lose it?
Maybe they dropped it on the moon. The videotape recording. Maybe someone dropped it. I don't know.
It seems a little convenient. I do think that governments are kind of like, they care about clout. So governments probably would fake that shit just for the clout, you know?
Okay.
I don't know. But I do think we've been to the moon, but I also have learned that, spoiler, if you've seen Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, that is not what space stations are like. Like, I pictured space stations with like Xenon walking around up there. That's not what it's like at all.
It's like a little box, and they're just like floating around in there.
Oh my God, space is so scary.
Oh my God, it makes me sick. No, I don't want to imagine.
Ew,
don't say that. I don't want to. What do you think would be worse? Being in a submarine underwater or a space station out in space? Because those both are fucked to me.
I can conceptualize the submarine way better because I've been in the ocean. Like, I've never been in space. I think that's a whole different beast.
But in space, there's light. In the ocean, it's darkness.
I don't know, dude. I don't freaking know.
Anyway, this one's important. Walt Disney being a frozen head somewhere. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there is a theory that Walt Disney put in his will, or that other people just did it, that either his full body and his head or just his head were frozen with some sort of cryotherapy and put in a freezer and saved for that when there is technology that he will be unfrozen and, for the lack of a better term, brought back to life, and we will be able to continue with his mind of geniusness.
I think that maybe they tried it, but I don't know if they kept it. Like, I could imagine people being like, oh my God, crazy idea. What if we freeze him and then we'll bring his smart ass back to life in the future?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's possible that people thought that. I don't know how long they would have kept it going.
People definitely still think it. Okay, here's the part 2 to this. Do you think the movie Frozen was created because of this? So there's another conspiracy theory that if you Google Disney and Frozen, this information about Walt Disney being frozen somewhere was, all over the internet, and they wanted to quiet that down. So they created a movie called Frozen so that now when you Google Disney Frozen, this is what comes up, this new movie Frozen, not Walt Disney being frozen. Do you think that's why they created Frozen?
Do I think that's why? I mean, how many people were Googling that and how much information was coming up about it? Because I feel like that would be the answer. Because if like 10 to 20 people a year were Googling that.
It's got to be more than 10 to 20. Okay, here's the other thing. I get what you're saying. Like, in the grand scheme of things, who gives a frick, like, whatever. And if people are Googling it, like, it's, just because Erin Bovelle is Googling it for Stop the Internet podcast, like, we don't need to create a movie about it. However, when you think more broad, these huge companies with insane amounts of money and secrets to keep will do anything to hide anything.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a plausible theory that they were like, we gotta shut this down. Whether it was because it was true and they're trying to hide it, or because they were just like, we are Disney and we don't want this out there about us. We don't want this like name. And they were like, oh, we are Disney. We're a family thing. Let's shut this down.
I do think it's possible. And I think that companies and people do that all the time, like the SEO thing. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to do. Like, why not just write a different blog post or story that has a keyword that you want to come up? I don't know. I honestly just think that's kind of like strategy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Next one, I just want your opinion on because I can't understand it. I can't get behind it. Flat Earth. I struggle with this because for a bajillion years, it's just been proven that the Earth isn't flat. So why in the 2000s are people like, the Earth is flat? Where did this come from? What are we doing? I don't get it. I am really struggling to understand.
I mean, I don't get it either, but I think in the Bible it mentioned that the world is like, wait, this could be so false. I thought there was some sort of like book or teaching that mentioned that it looks like a turtle. There's like quote that like our world is like a turtle on top of a turtle and it's turtles all the way down. Have you heard that quote?
No.
Nor
do I understand what it means.
She's coming to me with these conspiracy theories having done no research. No, I think that I honestly don't know. I don't get it either. I think sometimes people just like believing things. People just like believing that they're being lied to or like they could figure something else out.
Mm-hmm. I guess.
I don't know.
It's just crazy to me because like in my mind, the thought of flat Earth is as crazy as pandas don't exist. They're all just people in panda suits, or all birds are just government spies, or lizards in human suits are taking over the world. Like all of those fall into the Earth is flat, but people really believe it. So I would like someone to explain to me the background in some sort of persuasive essay. I don't know.
Have you ever looked one up?
Well, I've looked up like why people think the Earth is flat, and usually they all just kind of run into these blogs of like, people think the Earth is flat, flat earthers that have created a group, and then it just talks about like the flat earthers in the group. It doesn't really talk about why they believe it.
Yeah, I think that with a lot of conspiracy theories, especially ones that are worldwide and not just like American celebrities or like businesses do this. It's like, think about the fact that there's so many countries on Earth and there's been multiple world wars. There's wars that go on between countries, whether they're like physical wars or like
races to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Why would the one thing that every government on Earth for the history of time agrees on is lying to the people about like these certain topics?
Yeah.
Like, what would be the benefit of it? And then the answer is like, I feel like people give is like, well, they can. It's so they have power. And it's like, why?
What's the point?
I've never understood like a point. And that's why I feel like sometimes I just don't even feel like talking about conspiracy theories when people bring them up, because I'm like, I get it, but it's just like, why? The answer to the reason is what I never understand. Now I think that like for a lot of history, governments did have the most control over people, but now I don't even think it's like governments. I just think it's people with money, and people with money can do whatever they want. There are so many rich people. Like, do we not think that Elon Musk would have figured it out and used it to his advantage to like make Teslas better? Like,
if the earth was flat,
it would have come out. Like, people have the resources now.
Yeah.
Yes, people have the resources, the information, and the money to figure these things out. If there was anything to figure out, like if it was actually flat, people would have found out by now. And there's just nothing that I've ever heard that even almost disproves that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
The push for greener lawns in the United States is done by big pharma. So think about it. To get green grass, you need pesticides. Pesticides cause cancer. Cancer is a good business for drug companies.
I mean, I guess it's possible. I do wonder, when did Americans start having green lawns?
I don't know.
Apparently also green lawns are like not good for the environment because you're taking away all of the like native species, which people think are weeds. Mm-hmm. And I also think a weed is just something that you like don't want there. So if you liked dandelions, they would no longer be weeds to you.
Right.
So I do think that the lawns are not good. Like, it's actually better for the environment to have like a wildflower lawn or like like, I don't know. I've seen these like alternative lawns that you don't have to mow. I don't know. People are doing like clover lawns and moss lawns. I don't know if and mint lawns.
Mint?
Yeah. A lot of them can't withstand certain elements like walking. Like if you have a lawn that you walk on a lot, then you probably shouldn't have one of those. I don't know. But that's crazy. Okay. I mean, I do think there's a lot of like behind the scenes things that they are in cahoots with each other. And I think it's always a good idea to deep dive on the companies that you support, because I'm not going to out anyone, but I've heard that there's a extremely large and very, very well-known organization. I was going to say nonprofit, but I don't even think it's a nonprofit that organizes events to raise money for cancer research, but they take sponsorships from companies that have carcinogens in their products, and the main sponsor of these events is the product that causes cancer. And also the amount of money that actually goes to research after like they take their profit and salaries and you know, all of that is actually really low. So that's not even a theory, that's just a fact.
That's
so
a fact.
I do just think that all these big companies have their own goals, and whether they match the mission statement on their website or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
That is something that we as consumers can control. So that gives us power actually to do research and just realize these things. Like, it doesn't take a scientist to look up like products that have caused cancer in the past and where those products are and what companies and events are taking ad money from them.
Yeah. That leads me to one question that's actually not, I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, it's not on my list, but I want your non-medical opinion. Do you think that we as society have a cure for cancer and that the government is hiding it because cancer's too much money for drug companies? Or do you think the cure really isn't out there yet?
I mean, I have no medical knowledge at all. I don't want to believe that because of personal reasons. Like, I just can't imagine that the people that I love that have seeked cancer care have had something like withheld from them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it depends on like where the research goes in the next like 10 to 20 years, because I feel like for the past 10 years, they made breakthroughs like every year. So I guess it's like, where does it go from there? I don't know. What do you think?
So I'll preface this by saying I know people in the medical field who believe both ways, that the cure exists or it doesn't exist. I don't know how smart they are, you know, if it's like my smarter friends believing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound naive here, but from my personal knowledge and my few degrees that I have studying medicine, I just believe that we don't understand cancer enough to truly have a solution for it. Just from my basic textbook knowledge, you know, I'm not an oncologist, but from my basic textbook nursing knowledge, I don't think that we even have a good enough grasp on the actual cancer cells and how to stop them, that there could be a cure out there and they're just hiding it. Like, I just can't even grasp that. So I don't necessarily think that there is one.
I agree with that too, having no medical knowledge, of course, but I feel like a lot of times when I hear things about like theories like that, it comes from a place of the person that's explaining it is like, well, doctors just want to make money and like they're evil, and like, well, this industry, like, they're evil people, and every time a doctor writes you a prescription, like, they're getting a check from it. While that might be true, and there's bad actors in every field, like, there are bad doctors, there are bad lawyers, there's bad podcasters, like, any field there's bad people, but that doesn't mean that most of them are bad just because there's a few bad ones. And I think that most people are good and most people's intentions are pure, especially when they become a doctor. And I think that there's too many good doctors and passionate doctors and researchers that would greatly outweigh the few bad actors that are trying to hide this information. I just think that people care too much, and like in the history of like this cure that exists behind closed doors, somebody would have been like, guys, it exists, like, and then they die. If they die, they are like taken care of if they're whatever, but like too many people care too much in a good way.
I agree with that, especially without getting too far into this, because I know this is a topic that is way too over discussed. The COVID vaccine, like, I look at that in that exact way. Like, let's be so for real, like, the money, the fame, like, whatever the government wants out of it, like, I get why people have their reasons against it, fine, but working in an area where we work, where medicine is like the top of the top, and so much of modern medicine is rooted in the city of Philadelphia. And having worked personally and closely with doctors who were on the research boards and on the teams, and have worked closely with the Nobel Prize winners who designed the mRNA that is in the COVID vaccine, they care for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to save lives. They want to change the world. They don't want to put a chip in your arm.
I knew someone who was in the side of like, oh, I don't trust doctors because they give like prescriptions like willy-nilly because they make a cut, whatever. But that person's sibling was a nurse. So then I was like, no, but actually, like, okay, is your sibling a bad person? Like, is she a liar? And they're like, no, she's a good person. And then I'm like, okay, so then let's say they go to school to be an NP. Now, are they magically a bad person? And what about all their nursing school friends? Like, what about all their work friends? Like, all the people they get drinks with after they just had a 12-hour shift of like saving lives. Like, are they the bad people? Okay, no. So then they go back to medical school. So then now they're residents. Like, are they the bad ones? Literally think, and I know that I'm like speaking like kind of like dramatically and like an annoying way about it, but it's like, no, you actually, I just feel like people don't think like that when they believe these theories, because it's like confirmation bias. You don't just go from being like a shitty person and then the next day you're a doctor. You have to work for so many years, and like, I guess not everyone goes through these levels, but like if their sibling, this person's sibling, then did go back to school and became an MD, and now is the person writing these prescriptions, I'm like, is it like the title MD? Is that when the person turns evil and that's when they only care about themselves and money? Like, people don't think critically, or some people that believe some things, just it seems like they don't think critically about the elements that get to this theory. And it's like, oh, you can tell me anything you want, but like as soon as I disprove it, you're mad at me.
Right. No, I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and say every doctor on earth has good intentions. Like there are definitely some out there that want the money for prescribing drugs or surgeries that they shouldn't have done. Like, I get it. But yeah, I think about myself, and I mean, I have a second job, and I remember this happened to me actually at like 3:00 in the morning the other day. A patient was going off about God knows what, and she's looking at me and she's yelling and she's like, I can't even trust you. You're not even a real nurse. I see that stupid little RN on your badge. And I was like, do you know what RN stands for? And she's like, no. And I was like, it stands for real nurse. Okay. And she was like, oh. Just
real.
Like,
wait, I'm dead. I'm dead that she goes, I see that little RN. And you're like, oh, do you know what that means? And she's like, no.
She's like, you're not even a real nurse. So I was like, you're right, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, it's not worth arguing with, especially in like the hospital setting when people are like off their rockers going through stuff in the middle of the night. It's not worth arguing. But it's just like so funny because it's like that type of person. I wonder what they believe outside of the system, but also what brought you into this hospital under my care.
Yeah.
Do you trust me or do you not?
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't have to trust me, but I know I have good intentions in my heart.
I know.
And I'm here to take care of you.
Yeah. I totally agree. People are selfish, but I think like for the most part, most people have good intentions. And also like one more thing. Maybe this is like doesn't make sense, but the thing about like writing prescriptions because they get money, just because they get money doesn't mean that you can't benefit from that prescription.
Oh, yeah.
So like whether doctors benefit or not, like do you just not want them to benefit? Like, I don't know. I guess then like their theory would be they would write less prescriptions, but like
a lot of doctors don't benefit from writing any willy-nilly prescription.
Really?
Yeah, no. Like if
that's
you come
what
in,
people think though.
If you come in for an appointment and you're like, oh my God, I have the worst acne in the whole world and it's hurting my face. And I'm like, here, I can give you a prescription for this antibiotic or this Accutane or whatever. Like, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. There are drug reps coming in being like, oh, if you prescribe mine, like I'll buy you a lunch. Like I see that. But like a basic generic prescription for something that's going to help you, I'm not really getting any kind of benefit from giving you this prescription. I just want you to get better.
Interesting.
Let's be so for real. Like, and don't get me wrong, like I said, it happens. Some people do benefit from some prescriptions, but I really believe in my heart that when I go to my primary care doctor and I'm like, my anxiety is through the roof, can you please keep my Lexapro coming? I don't think he's benefiting from that. I really don't.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, are the insurance companies like giving them a check at the end of the month or a year? But like, even still, it's like that still doesn't mean that it's like a bad thing to do.
I need my Lexapro regardless.
Yeah, like I guess the argument is over prescribing, not what we're talking about, which is
a lot of doctors don't overprescribe. That's they don't want to lose their license. That's their livelihood.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying none do. I'm not naive. It happens.
Yeah.
But a lot of doctors that I have worked with would rather keep their job and their license than just be like tossing prescriptions out the window for everyone to pick up off the street.
Yeah.
Anyway, traffic barrels are left up for so long because the Department of Transportation bought too many and they have no place to store them. And I'm like, maybe.
I don't really believe that, but that would be something like that's on The Office. That would be like a...
Or like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, wait. Speaking of TV shows like that, well, not exactly like that. This is a theory that I've come up with myself, but I think shows that have like really intense plot lines about, I don't want to say too much, but I'm thinking like Scandal or like... I don't really watch that many, but I've watched the first like season or two of Scandal. So good. Kerry Washington's such a good actor. Anyway, I think that those shows are written by people that used to work in the industry.
Fair.
And I could just see like all of that stuff actually happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're in like these dramatic situations, but I'm like, no, those are probably all real. And it was probably someone that signed an NDA that was like, well, I can't tell you, but the producers and writers of this fictional TV show can.
Yeah.
Because, like, how else would they think of all that stuff? I don't know. Okay, the barrels thing is really funny, though.
The barrels thing is really funny, and it's also the more you think about it, the more real it seems. Like, you just see cones everywhere all the time. Like, they're just laying there. Like, why did no one come for that? Get that cone. Get that barrel.
This is such a good example of how overconsumption is ruining all of our lives. The overconsumption from the Department of Transportation is now making us more confined on roadways. Wow. Okay. Should I talk about some topics now?
If you want to take the episode from me.
That was a whirlwind. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about? I don't think it was long enough yet. See, she was making me fly through them in the beginning.
I just wanted to get through so many. Well, I had some other heavier ones, but Kelee doesn't want to get into heavy conspiracies right now.
I just think it's too deep, some of them. Some of them are too deep that I'm like, there's already been like tens of hours of documentaries about it, and like my irrelevant opinion like doesn't actually matter, you know?
Well, you could say that about all of the ones that we talked about. Like, who really gives a fuck if you believe that there's aliens in Area 51 or not? But I asked you anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like I'm more into unexplained occurrences than like specific theories.
What's an unexplained occurrence?
Well, what I prepared was like, well, I guess I can just read them. Should I just read them?
So they're not conspiracy theories.
They're not conspiracy theories, but I guess you could conspire or theorize as to
if they're true.
That, or like why this happened.
Okay.
Or an explanation.
Hit me with it.
Okay. My siblings and I were hit by a car in 2007 at around...
What?
At around 6:20 p.m. I was at a concert with my friends up the road and all of a sudden was knocked to the ground like someone kicked me in the stomach. It was the same time. They survived, thankfully. But I remember getting up and thinking something is wrong, something is very wrong, and then 20 minutes later my older sister coming to the venue with my mom's boyfriend to get me.
I don't believe that. I don't know. That's just too like, I wanted to place myself in the story type of, I don't know.
But how would they have known to have the pain before they knew about the story?
I think that they probably didn't. They just maybe had like an upset stomach, and then they're like making a memory out of it.
I do believe in that. Like, I do feel like the human brain, I feel like more than conspiracies and like all these things, it's more about like the human brain is wild and like we don't understand it, and our minds like play tricks on us and make up these things that like we think we understand or we think we remember. So I feel like that's even true with like, I guess none of the conspiracies that we read today, but like a lot of the like spiritual ones or like unexplained things is like it probably just was your brain.
And false memories are so real. Like, you never know.
Yeah, totally. And I heard someone else have this like, not really a theory, but more just like a question about the future. And it's like, will we ever have, because like, you know how looking back, we could probably explain a bunch of like crazy stuff that at the time they probably thought was crazy, but now we understand what it was. So whether it's like sicknesses and cures or like, I don't know, like who knows, like someone that took a natural remedy for like a headache probably thought it was magic at the time, but now we just understand how chemicals work. So things like that, like will we be able to look back on things that right now we think are like unexplained or crazy or magic and have an actual tangible like reasoning for it?
Someday we'll have some tangible evidence as to like twin telepathy or something like that. Like why do twins or siblings have this thing?
Wait, that's such a good
And it's like maybe in the womb something connected them that we can't understand yet.
I don't know. That's such a good point. Stuff like that.
Yes.
My mom was in hospice and I went home to get a shower and rest before going back that evening with my twin. Twin. Wow, that's really weird.
It's almost like I know the future. Time travel.
My uncle was sitting with my mom during that time, and right around 11:30, I started to feel very nauseated, my stomach rolling, and I had to lay down. I got a call from my twin at the same time saying they felt sick with the same symptoms and was thinking of coming over because they had a strong feeling that they didn't want me to be alone. That's when we got a text from my uncle saying that my mom had passed. My twin and I physically felt her leave. By the time my twin came and picked me up, we felt physically fine again, but we were heartbroken. Like, that is wild. I wonder if like one day we would have like maybe a tangible, or it actually is just like a spiritual thing.
It could be all these things, but then like the I don't know if you want to call what's it, not pessimist, but like when you don't believe something.
Skeptical?
The skepticism in me is also like, if I called you and I was like, oh, mom's probably going to pass today and I'm sick to my stomach, what are the chances you're not going to be like, I sort of feel that in my stomach too? Like,
yeah, that's true. Because
know.
it's almost like your subconscious like if she's in hospice, your subconscious knows that like you're about to go through this like this thing is going to happen. Oh. So then your subconscious is like making you feel sick because of the anxiety. I'm not
trying to just like throw a wrench into these stories, but something there is like, your mind is very strong. And can make you physically ill. And if you called me saying you feel some crazy horrible thing, there's a strong chance that I might start feeling that way too. It's like, in theory, you could compare it to like when husbands have like the pregnancy symptoms when a woman is pregnant.
That's a thing?
I think so.
Well, I know that the human brain can trick yourself into thinking that you're pregnant. No, yes, it can.
No, I'm not saying that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, but no, I'm comparing it to that. Like, the brain is so powerful that there have been cases of people thinking that they're pregnant and they have like every single pregnancy symptom other than the fact that a baby is growing inside of them because their brain is like so certain that they're pregnant and they just like trick themselves.
Yeah, it's physical signs of sympathetic pregnancy. Like the man will start getting nausea, vomiting, intestinal problems, heartburn, changes in appetite, weight gain or loss. Yeah, things like that. Anyway.
Wow. Okay, explain this one. I hadn't announced my pregnancy. I was a scared 21-year-old. My mom had a friend over who had a 3-year-old girl who immediately says, "You have a baby in your tummy." That's how my mom found out about my now 36-year-old daughter. Okay, I'm so skeptical. I thought I was going to believe that one, but then as soon as I read it out loud, I was like, kids say anything. And
kids say all kinds of nonsense.
I'm sure a kid said that to me before and I've never been pregnant.
The only thing that makes me maybe think that there's some truth to that is they say like dogs can tell when people are pregnant.
And dolphins,
I guess. Yeah. But I nannied for a family in college who I think they're on like their 3rd or 4th kid at the time. She was pregnant and she was like, oh, you know, they're big dogs. She was like, knew I was pregnant before we did this time. She said that there was a certain way the dog started acting with each pregnancy and she not in the slightest thought she was pregnant and the dog started acting that way and she was like, shit. Oh my God, I'm pregnant.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I do think maybe dogs, it's like a certain smelling hormone or something like that. Maybe dogs can smell your hormones. Because dogs can sniff like blood sugar changes and seizures and things like that. Yeah. So maybe that's how
that's a good point too. Yeah.
So I'm not saying kids can sniff out pregnancy hormones, but I don't know. They say kids and dogs can see ghosts. So maybe kids and dogs can smell babies and bellies. I don't know.
True. Maybe true.
Maybe.
My husband was 7 when his 18-year-old sister died. He was staying at his aunt's house and he woke up in the middle of the night and he told her something happened to Julie. She died. His aunt was comforting him for having a bad dream and put him back to bed when the phone rang. It was his mom calling to tell the aunt that Julie was in a terrible accident and died. That's like the same thing as the twin telepathy kind of.
It is, and that's where I'm like, okay, maybe there's some truth to twin telepathy, but at the same time, it's just like, this was in the middle of the night, and the mom called in the middle of the night to be like, wake up, Julie was in a terrible accident. We already found out that she died, and I needed to wake you up in the middle of the night to tell you. I don't know.
I don't think that's the crazy part.
No, I don't think that's the crazy part. It just seems so, like, calculated.
I mean, also, a kid's middle of the night could be, like, 3 hours after they went to bed, and that could be, like, 10 p.m. for an adult. Or like 12 a.m.
I guess. I don't know. I know everyone handles things differently too, but like my thought is like, if me and my husband just found out that like our child was in a crazy accident and died in the time that this son woke up and was being comforted. So like, it's not like this was like a 6-hour span and me and my husband are processing this and we have to like rush to the hospital or like go do something. I'm not going to be like, okay, I better call someone and tell them, right? I don't know. I don't know.
I think that's a personal thing.
I guess. I don't know. It just seems, like I said, calculated, but what do I know?
Calculated by who, though?
The person writing the story.
Oh, okay. All right. My mom had a blind cousin. One night when she was 9 years old, she woke up and he was in her bedroom. He told her he was... Oh, my God. He told her he was dead and named his killer. Then he disappeared. His body was found the next day. The man he named as the killer showed up at his funeral and stood in the back. He was never arrested because there wasn't enough evidence. Oh my God, I just got the chills. What?
I'm gonna stay up at night now over that one. That one's gonna hurt me a little bit.
That's terrifying.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
Can you read the next one?
All right. I called a stranger by her dead mother's name. I was at work and an older faculty member I'd never met came by while I was working. She started talking to me about how she wished she'd gone into my specific profession because she would have been much happier with her life. Weird conversation for a stranger. Anyway, she ends up telling me her name at some point since we might eventually meet again. And at the end of the conversation, I said something along the lines of, "Nice meeting you, Mary." And she turned white as a ghost. She told me that Mary was her mother's name who'd recently passed and that her own name wasn't even close to that. It started with a different letter and everything. Maybe half of it was her mother talking to me about her regrets in life. I still don't know how to process that whole thing.
If that's true, that's wild.
Yeah. Unless the woman... I'm so annoying. Unless the person he was talking to was like subconsciously thinking about their mom that they missed and like said their name was Mary.
Yeah.
Because like, you know how it's like a psychological thing that when people are meeting strangers for the first time, they sometimes say the stranger's name. And
yes.
I've done that before.
I literally.
And they're not a stranger. It was like I knew who I was meeting up with, but it was the first time.
I didn't say the stranger's name, but I was out in the city one night with Rebecca and we met up with another one of our friends and then their friends. I literally hugged my friend's friend and said, "Hi, I'm Rebecca." And I was standing next to Rebecca and I don't know why it came out of my mouth. My friend was like, "And that's Erin." And I was like, I don't know what just came out of my mouth.
No, I feel like I've done that too. Because you just like say things you don't mean sometimes. Yeah. I was driving on the interstate with a friend. The whole time we were driving, we were right behind a red sports car with a woman driving. As I was driving, I had this overwhelming feeling to get off the interstate. I quickly got off at the next exit. My friend asked why we were getting off, and I just said that I didn't know. I told her that we could stop and get a drink. We did that, and when we got back on the interstate, the red sports car was on the interstate in flames. I have no doubt that we would have been involved in the accident if we had stayed on the interstate. The woman in the car died. Oh my God, I got the chills. Something told me that I needed to get off quickly, and I'm so glad I did. Wait, I have something similar. Not exactly, but I was working over the summer. It was a photo shoot, and the model for the photo shoot was like really late, like at least 30 minutes late. And I was so annoyed because I was just like, I was busy, and we just had to sit there and wait the 30 minutes for them to be late, and then we'd have to be like, "It's so fine, like no worries at all." Anyway, when I was driving home on the highway, the traffic was slowing down, and I was like, wait, why? Like, this is a lot of traffic for this random road at this time of day. I saw a helicopter in the sky, and like literally 30 minutes earlier, there was this insane accident that shut down the entire highway for hours. Like, I had to get off I forget if they like rerouted us or something, or if I just got off at a closer exit. And then I went to like some random Dunkin' Donuts for like 3 hours, like while the road was shut down. And I was like, fuck, like if they weren't late, I would have been 30 minutes early on my drive.
At that accident.
I mean, possibly. Like, you just never know.
That happened to us my senior year of high school. We were, you might not even remember this, but we were driving our same route that we went to school every single day. I was driving and you were in the passenger seat. I think we both had our driver's licenses, but I just drove every morning. We were driving the same route that we took to school every single day. And I guess like when you're in that routine, you start to go like the same speed, the same like, turns, whatever. We were going down this big hill and I was going very, very slow. Like, I don't know what about it in my head, but I was just like in that mood and driving like ridiculously slow for no reason on a road that we take, like I said, every day. And I would never drive necessarily insanely slow on because it's a busy road. And a car in the other lane swerved into our lane and hit the car in front of us dead head on. And we were able to stop. But had we been going a little bit faster, we probably would have rear-ended the car in front of us. And I remember it was a pretty scary accident because the car just came out of the other lane and he immediately jumped out of his car and was like yelling and screaming. As we went to turn around to kind of go the other way and like take a side road, Kelly literally said to me, "I was wondering why you were driving so weirdly slow."
Wait, really? I don't remember saying that. I remember everything else.
Yes, you said that to me. And I remember thinking like, I don't know why I was driving, but I was driving really slow.
Oh my God, so weird.
And I remember thinking like, oh, I thought I was driving slow and that was kind of weird, but the fact that you had said that out loud to me meant that I was like, maybe I really wasn't driving slow, but in my mind I was.
Yeah.
But the fact that you had said that out loud to me proved that like there was a reason something had happened that morning, and the reason we were driving slow. Like,
that's so weird.
I know, so weird. Eek.
That's crazy.
So maybe I should stop debunking all these stories.
Yeah.
That happened to us.
I've heard that the difference between anxiety and intuition is anxiety tells you you should be scared and intuition tells you you should do something. So that story that we just read about the guy who got off the interstate, that would be labeled as intuition because something in him said get off the highway.
Yeah.
It didn't just say like, what if something bad happens? So like a what if would be anxiety and a you should is intuition, which I do feel is true because every time I fly now, I get anxiety and I'm like, what if something goes wrong? And then I think to myself, I'm like, okay, that's not really like, I don't know. It's not valid. It's just a what if over absolutely nothing, you know?
Until you pull a Final Destination and you're
All
like,
right.
get me off
Nope.
this No, and you're like, get me off this plane.
Oh.
It's just anxiety.
Until you feel like the urge and something like an undeniable urge to do not go to the airport today. Or like something like that is like what you would need to feel in order for it to be like intuition, I guess. I don't know. That's what I've heard. I had a C-section and I was bleeding out and felt myself getting sleepy and tingling. I let myself relax for a second only to hear my sister, who passed in 2014,
oh, dear God.
tell me, just close my eyes and rest. It's okay. Just close your eyes because I'm here. I knew not to do it because years before, she told me the same thing when I had it. Ew. I like don't even, I'm convulsing right now. I'm so sorry.
Do you want me to read it?
I knew not to do it because years before, she told me the same thing when I had an allergic reaction at a hospital because a nurse gave me something that I was deathly allergic to. The first time I didn't fight it because I feel the tears welling up my eyes. Holy shit. I didn't fight it because my body wasn't able to. This year, I was able to get my husband's attention and tell him that something felt wrong. That's when the doctor told me he was having trouble closing me up, causing me to bleed out more than I should have. Scary experience, but it's like I hear her at the worst times and I say no.
She's trying to pull you to the other side.
Wait, I'm about to throw up.
Is your sister the Grim Reaper? Why would she want to pull you to the other side?
This is... I don't know. Ew, I'm screaming.
This is
horrifying.
I don't know if this is worse or my blind cousin told me his murderer. I don't know which of those is
Holy
worse.
fuck, that's crazy too, dude.
But like if I die and you hear me calling your name and then you like come back to life and you hear me again, like why am I trying that hard to get you on my side? Jeez. Whew.
I don't know. That's Wait, but you know what I also think is crazy though is even if you don't believe in like spirituality and you want to explain that through like the subconscious mind, she knew that her sister was dead and like she's heard all the stories about seeing like all the stories that we've all heard. So maybe it was just her subconscious mind trying to like calm her down when she was dying.
Yeah.
But that means that she knew that she was dying and she made a choice. Like her subconscious mind made a choice to not die.
Yeah.
And like, or I guess her conscious mind made a choice to like say no to her subconscious mind that knew it was dying. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Ah! So this was my friend's intuition, not my own, but it for sure saved our lives. About a decade ago, sometime in January or February, we were standing outside in downtown Chicago smoking a cig. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she gets this worried look on her face and says, "I don't like this spot. Come over here." It wasn't 3 seconds after we took a few steps, no more than 10 feet away, that this giant ice block falls off the building and shatters exactly where we had been standing. It would have crushed and killed me, definitely, and her, very likely, had we not moved. It was so shocking that everyone on the bustling street just stopped and stared at us, mouths agape. You could have heard a pin drop after that. It was insane. I never looked at her the same either. She says she doesn't know how, but she had some sixth sense thing going on without a doubt.
I don't know. Maybe there really is like some sort of sixth sense or guardian angel that says these things in our ears. I don't know. I don't know. It's wild.
When I was 3, my mom and her friends were getting ready to go out to the bar in the next city over. My mom, being super young when she had me, was often out on weekends with friends, so this wasn't unusual at all. However, on this night, I, a usually super well-mannered kid, threw my biggest tantrum of my life, screaming at the top of my lungs, throwing myself around, throwing things, etc. because she was leaving. She was super mad because she couldn't leave me with the babysitter like this, especially since she felt something was wrong because this was very unlike me as a child. Her friends left and she stayed home with me, still pretty pissed off at toddler me. The next morning, she and I walked to my grandma's house to use the phone. It was before cell phones. She calls her friend's house to hear about the night before, and her friend's mom answers. They had been trying to get a hold of my mom all night as there was a horrific car accident. All of my mom's friends, except for the driver, had passed away. Had she gone, oh my God, I'm like literally about to cry. There is no way she would have survived in the car. It still haunts me to think about it this day. My mom never really recovered from it.
That's like not even trying to change the subject, but that's those stories you hear about 9/11 and the people that like had to go get the coffee that morning, or the people that missed the bus to work and like weren't there for it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's insane. That is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I was out walking my dog when I got a funny feeling about my dad. He has heart problems and is prone to heart attacks. I called him a few times and he didn't respond, so I started to run back and he was slumped in front of the sofa, showing all the early signs of a heart attack. I phoned an ambulance and gave him basic treatment. After the paramedics arrived, they said if I had been any later, he would have died.
Yikes.
Whoa. Manager of a group home. I woke up one day at 3:33 a.m. in a cold sweat. It's always 3:33 a.m.
Isn't that the devil's number? Or like the witching hour or
They
something?
say 3 o'clock's the witching hour, but that's another thing I don't believe because it's like 3 o'clock in what time zone?
I also don't even know what witching hour means.
People just think that like weird shit goes down at 3 a.m. So I'm like, let me ask you this. Riddle me this. Let's say we're on daylight savings time and I step over the border into Arizona. And now it's 2 a.m. Is the witch going to get me?
No, the witch is in the other time zone.
Right, exactly. So I have 60 minutes until I have to jump time zones again.
She just floats there as the earth spins. She's there.
If you genuinely believe that 3 o'clock is the witching hour, you should live on like the border of 2 time zones. So then at 2:59, you can take like a few steps over there. Yeah. After 60 minutes there, you just hop back over the border and go home. And now it's 4 a.m. there, so you're safe all the time. Foolproof. Anyway, devil's hour. I woke up at 3:33 a.m. in a cold sweat, like something screamed at me to wake up. I felt uneasy and walked the house. Turns out a kid had woken up and gone to eat something out of the fridge. He was on the ground choking. Staff was asleep, literally Heimlich the dude back to life. If I had been asleep 5 more minutes, he would have died. To today, I don't know what woke me up in the dead of the night like that. I am in a room on the other side of the house, so no sound would have woken me up. Divine intervention.
Yeah.
Last year, I was admitted to the hospital for abdominal pain. Everything seemed okay. They found gallstones and scheduled me for a routine OP the next day. What's that? A routine op? Oh, operation?
Probably.
Routine operation.
Original poster.
Yeah. OP. I'm by the asshole. I was okay on a lot of painkillers. No big deal. Get it out and go on with life. I've had surgery under anesthesia before and never thought about making arrangements, but I had a weird, compelling feeling this time that I should get my affairs in order. I drafted a farewell email to my wife and kids so they'd find it in the drafts. I wrote down my laptop and password manager passwords on a Post-it in my wallet so they'd find those too. Packed everything neatly away and waited. I lay on the table, looked at the surgeon in the eye, and said, I want to wake up. Okay. I woke up intubated in the ICU immediately after being anesthetized. I had sorry, that's not funny, but I just butchered that. I had responded with a massive allergic reaction and coded. In addition, the gallbladder was half dead and gangrenous. And my surgeon said it was in his top 3 most challenging cholecystectomies of his long career. Guess I'm on my 3rd life. Wait, okay, that's not funny at all. That sucks for you.
Sorry, that's not funny. What was funny to me was that Kelly couldn't say a single one of those medical terms.
I said I don't have medical knowledge. Wait, my friend's dad, every single time they go on a plane, like the dad and the mom, they call their 2 daughters over either like down from their rooms like throughout their life, and now they moved out. So called him over, and he gathers like all of his personal information. He rewrites his will and like prints it out, or I guess maybe not rewrites it every time, but like
rewrites his will every time he gets on an airplane.
Has the most updated will, has it in like a folder printed out, leaves it on his desk, and he goes, here's this, here's everything that you need if we die. And he does it every time, to the point where they're like, Dad, I get it, I know where it is, like you don't have to call me over, I know that if you guys die in a plane crash, I know that it's on the table, I know it's on your desk in the folder. Jeez. I just think that's so funny, but like also prepared king.
Yeah, prepared king, but like, why don't you put it in a safe where I know to look? I don't have to come over every time.
Well, that's the point. That's what's funny. It's like every single time he does the same thing. And she's like, yeah, I get it.
That's hilarious.
You don't have to give me the runaround.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. When my eldest was 3, I was pregnant with my 3rd baby, and she was on my lap. She told me the baby had no heartbeat and was dead. She wasn't sad and said it so matter-of-factly. The next day, I go to the ER for massive abdominal pains. The doctor told my husband and I that the baby had no heartbeat. I was 7 weeks pregnant at the time. My daughter's 28 now, and she still remembers it and can't explain how she knew. She just knows that she did. This wasn't our first weird instance with our eldest either. She had an issue in the kitchen of an apartment that we lived in when she was 2. One day, she just started screaming and scrambled up my body and refused to go through the kitchen to her room because of the blood and the mean man with the bloody knife in the kitchen. She said he would hurt us. No one was there. I walked around the kitchen to her room, and she never set foot in the kitchen the rest of the time we lived there. I did do some research and found out about 15 years before we moved in, someone had been murdered in the kitchen. The statute of limitations was up on letting tenants know, so the leasing office was under no obligation to tell us. How my 2-year-old saw it astounds me. To this day, she says there are times she sometimes sees things like that, but it's very rare. After that one incident, I'm not going to doubt her.
No, kids see ghosts.
Yeah.
Kids absolutely see ghosts.
They need to make that statute of limitations a little bit wider.
Sheesh.
Holy moly.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. All right, should I read 1 or 2 more?
Hit me with one more.
Well, I had a note on one of them. I don't remember the story.
Okay.
But it says, not funny / not necessarily happy, but not sad. Okay. All right. I do real estate photography. One day I was alone shooting in an empty house, which is quite normal. I had this really uncomfortable feeling that I wasn't alone. I had already checked the whole house before I started taking photos, but I kept getting the feeling that someone else was there. The feeling was so strong that I had goosebumps and I felt nauseous. I'm not a small guy, but I felt like a little kid scared of the dark. I decided to recheck all the rooms to ease my mind, but I didn't find anything. I checked closets, bathrooms, bedrooms, etc., but I was definitely the only one there. As I finished shooting the last room in the house, this feeling that someone was with me was so overwhelming that I pretty much sprinted out of the house when I took the last shot. I felt better when I got outside, but I still had an uneasy feeling. The realtor ended up pulling in the driveway as I was finishing the photos in front of the house and asked me if the house cleaner did a good job. I said it looked fine to me, and she went into the house with her husband to prep it for a showing. When I was shooting the backyard, I noticed them both out of the corner of my eye through a back window, and there was a third person with them. I was confused because they came out alone without anyone else. Turns out the house cleaner wasn't finished before I pulled up and came in. She saw a large guy with tattoos come in the house, and in a panic, she jumped
oh no.
into the kitchen pantry and hid. By the time she realized I was the photographer, it was too late for her to come out without it being awkward. So she stayed in the pantry the whole time.
Oh.
I'm not sure if maybe I saw her out of the corner of my eye when walking past, or if maybe I smelled her perfume, heard her breathing, and didn't realize it. But my subconscious was screaming at me that someone was there. It was the most uncomfortable I'd ever been inside a house like that before, and it made for a funny story after. I should add that I had headphones on for the majority of the shoot, so it was 100% my fault for not being more aware of everything. I just assumed it was like any other empty house. I was listening to music when I came in and didn't stop until I had the weird feelings.
Oh, that poor woman.
That's so funny.
Oh my God.
Damn, yeah, that is that. She just was like, well, I was in here for too long.
Man with tattoos.
Wait, I feel bad that she thought that it was like awkward to come out when like he probably would have just been like,
I would have done the same thing.
Just stayed in the entire time.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh my God, that's so awkward.
Wow. Okay, this episode was a whirlwind.
Yeah, we hit two very important ends of what you could maybe somehow connect on a spectrum.
Well, Jimmy told me that he heard this quote that conspiracy theories are born when people feel there's a lack of information.
Okay.
So I feel like all of those stories you could theorize about.
With a lack of information.
Kinda.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing by being subconscious mind.
Absolutely.
So maybe these are the new conspiracy theories.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
Wow, this was really different, but I liked it in the end.
Yes, in the end. I didn't like it in the beginning.
Tell us in the comments if you ever have had a weird situation like this.
Or how you feel, if you feel very strongly about a certain conspiracy theory.
Agreed. Yes, do that. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you liked it. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.